Welcome children, welcome back to my talks, and here I am with the second poem, okay, A Tiger in the Zoo, standard 10th, okay, first flight, as you know, first poetry we have already done. This is the second poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, and the poet is Leslie Norris, okay. So again, let's talk about the central idea about the poetry. Okay, here the poet describes the mental state of the tiger in the cage. You know children, when the tiger is there roaming about in the forest, his mental state is very happy. Okay, he can enjoy his life. But again, when he is in the cage, you can understand, as due to corona, when we are caged into our houses, we should be able to understand the condition of those wild animals, those are put into the cage. Okay, so that is a condition. At this particular time, very properly you would understand. So there's a comparison between the life of the tiger in a wild state, okay, in a natural habitat, that is the forest, and in a cage. So the poet gives out a very strong message that wild animals should remain in their natural habitat, okay, not caged, okay, in the zoos and all. So out of this is born the poet's strong idea that freedom should not be snatched from the wild animals. Captivity means putting in the cage, is the worst kind of punishment given to animals. Now we feel, no, this is a punishment for us to be in homes, okay? So that is also for animals. Living in a wild state or in their natural habitat is their love. The poem also stresses the idea and necessity of freedom and how valuable it is. Okay, so the poetic devices are alliteration. Okay, alliteration, it is the repetition of the initial consonants and sounds in the same line. So 3 alliterations are there. He stalks in his vivid stripes, so S and S. Okay, but he is locked in a concrete cell, so locked ka C and concrete C. Okay, and then stalking in the length of his cage. Okay, K in stalking and C in the cage. Repetition, that is also a poetic device, and it is a repetition of words and phrases in the same line. So on pads of velvet quiet and in his quiet rage. Repetition of quiet and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Repetition of brilliant. Okay, and the rhyme scheme is for the first, fifth and second stanza it is ABCD, and for the third and fifth stanza it is again ABCD. Okay, so let's talk about now 4 lines. So the first, he stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Okay, so what does the poet say? The tiger, the stripes it has on its body is talking about that. Okay, and walks, it's very difficult for him to walk in the cage. Okay, he looks majestic, the lookout, the body. Okay, but he is captivated, he is put into a small cage. His pads, the leg ke niche jo pads hai, okay, that is velvet like soft. In spite of being the most powerful and ferocious animal, okay, he is helpless over here. He is imprisoned and he is helpless in the cage. He is angry but can't do anything. So this despair and helplessness, okay, gets to be seen on the face of the tiger. Second paragraph, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Okay, so again the poet feels pity about the tiger. He says that the tiger should have been roaming about, slurking and sliding in the tall grasses in the forest, okay, instead of being in the cage. He should have been in the natural habitat, hunting and resting. Okay, and the poet implies that his freedom has been snatched from him and he should have been stalking some fatty deer. Okay, in the forest he should be jumping on some fatty deer, he should be eating upon that. Okay, and near a water hole, lying there expecting a good feast. Okay, expecting a good food. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Okay, so if he would have been free, what he would have done? Okay, he should be like playing his wild game. Okay, snarling around the houses near the jungle's edge. Okay, the villagers, and showing his white fangs and fearful claws, and people would get scared of him and run here and there. Okay, terrorizing the villagers. Okay, but now you see he walking tiringly in the small cage. So the poet implies that if we destroy the natural habitats of wild animals, they would be invading our cities and villages as they have started doing now. Okay. Then we come to the fourth one. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. So here the poet says that the tiger is now imprisoned in a small cage with concrete surface in spite of all his strength. Okay, he feels sad on himself. He is very despaired. Okay, and he is angry and disappointed that he can't do anything. He ignores even the visitors who elongate his sufferings, okay, because they don't allow him to rest in the cage. The poet also implies the indifference of the officials. Okay, the officials also do not understand the condition which the animal has to face, which the tiger has to face. Okay, and then the last one, he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So the tiger remains disturbed by the patrolling cars. Okay, even at night the guards go patrolling. He has lost all the hopes. The tiger has lost all the hopes of getting freed, okay, and getting back to his natural habitat. He stares at the brilliant stars, okay, above in the skies, and it seems as if he is praying to the Almighty for his freedom. He seems to be searching for some hope and rest in the brilliant stars. His eyes are brilliant, which implies that that he still hopes for freedom someday. So it's really a very, very beautiful poem, children, A Tiger in the Zoo. Hope you all must have understood. So as I've been telling you always, do share, like and subscribe. Thank you all. Thank you for watching.